Most amateur athletes don't fail because they don't train hard enough. They fail because they train too hard, too often, with not enough time for recovery. So, what are the mistakes that people make? We'll break it down into three key major problems. Problem one, Instagram and social media. It's so easy to scroll through the heaps of Instagram content, running influencers, and see people put awesome workouts out there that you may think, you know what, that'll work. Works for them, it'll work for me. And to an extent, they're right, and you're right, because Alex Yee has probably got an incredible interval session that would help you improve your VO2 max. But should you be doing that all the time? Absolutely not. When you start stacking these workouts on top of each other, then you end up compounding fatigue, and the more you're doing these hard sessions without giving your body time to recover and adapt, the more strain you're putting on your body, and more likely you are to injure yourself, burn out, or just plateau your performance. This sort of links into the second problem that we find, which is a mindset issue. And it's prevalent in the running space, particularly, but I have seen it creep into triathlon. And that's that in order to run faster or to bike faster, you need to train harder, train faster, and keep increasing the level at which you are training. Now, that doesn't always lead to improved performance. Sometimes you find people just smashing out interval on interval and seeing their 5k time creep and improve, which is great. But at some point, they can end up getting injured, and that 5k is only going to go so far by stacking VO2 max workouts on top of each other and intervals on top of each other without slowing down. The final problem is volume. When we're putting all these workouts on top of each other, we're finding that you're just building miles on top of miles on top of miles with no key structure, no system in place for that to work for you. And by the end of the week, some people see it as a badge of honor that they've run 80, 90 kilometers that week. And it is, if you're at the later stages of a marathon build or a long distance triathlon build. It's not necessarily a badge of honor when you're 2, 3, 4 weeks into a marathon plan, and you should be focusing on building that aerobic engine and that base level of fitness. The good news is that by training smarter, not harder, we can actually find that we can improve performance across the board and not plateau, not burnout. So what does smart training actually look like? It all starts off with planning the season as a whole, which we refer to as a macro cycle. Now, you can identify your top priority on the season. You might have 1 or 2 races. For me personally this year, it was the Manchester Marathon, which I've got in a few weeks, and the Outlaw Long Distance Triathlon later on in the season. They're my 2 big main A goal races, you may refer to it as, or primary goal, top priority, however you want to call it. They're the big races that your whole season is working towards. Once you've got those 2 identified, you can then work the rest of your year around making sure your body is prepared for the races, but also that you're well recovered, well adapted, and ready to perform on the day. Now, something about our bodies is that they don't really understand the difference between stress. Whether we're stressing our bodies on a bike ride to work, or whether work itself is a stressful day, whether you've just been out on a long, hard run, or whether you've been looking after a 1-year-old who won't stop crying, won't go to sleep. They're all stresses that your body absorbs, takes on, and it doesn't necessarily distinguish the difference between what's deliberate training and what's life, work, money, career stress, any of those. This stress all compounds, and it affects your central nervous system and the way your body is responding. You may have heard of the flight, fight, freeze. That's our central nervous system moving into the sympathetic mode. And this is quite synonymous with low heart rate variability. So the variance between our heartbeats is low, meaning it's consistent between heartbeats, and our body is primed in a state to be able to respond to a danger, to a threat. And by adding more and more and more stress, that's where we're putting our central nervous system, and that's where we're sitting on that constant threat state waiting to respond. Now, 1, 2, 3 weeks before our A race, we don't want to be in that position. We want to taper off the stress, we want to reduce our training load, and we want to be in a position where our body's primed, ready to operate on the day. That comes primarily from planning the season, structuring the year around those A races, so that you're in the best possible position to perform on the day. How do we achieve this? So different coaches, different training plans will do it slightly differently. The most common way is by breaking your training cycles down into 4-week blocks. Now, the first 3 weeks of that block, you can increase intensity, increase duration, increase the load, and the 4th week is used to allow your body to adapt, to reduce the training load, to slow down, and just enable your body to deal with the stress that you've put on it, for your central nervous system to reset and be in a position to then pick up the load again in the next 4-week block. During this deload week, the 4th week, your body's repairing the damage from the increased training load, rebuilding stronger muscles, and improving your aerobic system and adapting to the stress. This is adaptation, and this is key in order to perform throughout a season. A good analogy I like for this is, imagine you're building a house. Now, when you're putting hard sessions in, the interval sessions, you're delivering bricks. Okay, there's delivery trucks, wheelbarrows, however you want these bricks to be coming to the site, and it's delivering bricks to the building site. However, this doesn't actually build the house. You need to give the builders time to actually put the bricks together and assemble the house. So if these bricks keep arriving with no time to build, you're just left with a pile of bricks. The deload week, or that sort of slight reduced intensity weeks or days built into your training cycle, is giving the builders time to construct the house, to build the foundations, to use the bricks before these next interval sessions come for the next delivery. So when we look at our season as a whole and we're breaking it down into these smaller cycles, these smaller chunks, we can then start looking at the actual workouts that we're doing, both the intensity and the duration of these. Now, this is where platforms like Training Peaks, which I'm not a sponsor of, but I do use as a coach and as an athlete, they're really good. And Garmin also does it as well, but I think Whoop or a lot of these smart trackers do. But what they do is they give you a training stress score, or TSS. And this is good for planning. It's a good tool to work with, but we wouldn't use it as the be all and end all. There are many factors that affect whether we're ready for training, whether we're recovered, whether we're ready to perform. But TSS is one of those. And that is a combination of the intensity and duration of your workout. They use an intensity factor on Training Peaks. So we can look at that and we can tailor workouts to make sure that we are doing those high intensity workouts, doing the longer runs, the longer rides, the intervals, and we are delivering those big bricks to the building site. But we are also slowing down and we're doing those easier runs, easier rides, lots of mobility work, easy swims, recovery workouts to enable the builders to build the house. By actively managing this and looking on a week-to-week level at how you're utilising your training load, how you're building your workouts, and how you're structuring your season, you can progressively build your load. And by progressively building, you're less likely to burn out, to be too fatigued to perform when it comes to your race day, and avoid injury. And those three are key factors that as athletes, we want to avoid. My key takeaway from this today for you is to build your systems. Don't be that athlete that goes off of Instagram and goes too hard and copies everybody else's workouts without giving yourself time and your body time to adapt to the training load. Hard training does have a place, particularly when we're working on intervals and we're looking to improve our sprint speed or our 5K time. However, many people, many amateur athletes in particular, find themselves falling into the trap of working too hard, too often, and not adapting. That's where smart training comes in, and if you can train smart instead of hard, you'll go far. If you've got this far, then thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something and hope you take something away into your training. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more, then please like, subscribe, And if you've got any questions whatsoever about anything that I've covered today, then just leave them in the comments below and I will get back to every single person that comments on this video. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.